Welcome to another Better Place Australia podcast. Ever considered taking out a payday loan to get some quick cash to get out of a money problem? Christine is the Financial Counselling Team Leader for Better Place Australia and Financial First Aid, and she unpacks what payday lending is and some of the traps that go with it. Christine, so what is payday lending?
It's usually a small amount credit contract, and it's based on, we use payday lending as perhaps a bit of a generic term, but there are lots of small amount lenders, particularly online. I mean, there's some classic shop fronts like cash converters, but a lot of them are online based where you can get, say, $800, you can get $350, you can get $1,200.
Right.
So they're designed. There's also a couple now that are cropping up. They basically say, we'll lend you the money until you get your next pay.
Right.
And I think when someone gets into that spiral of needing money before they get their pay, that's the warning signs. That's the red flags. They need to reach out and get some guidance, advice, try and reset.
Because it sounds like such a great solution, but where can it end up?
Well, the interest rates are very high, but they are capped.
What are we talking?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm a little confused sometimes because they say 48% is as much as they can charge, but
wow,
that's 48% of the loan amount, which could not just be interest, it could also be fees and charges and ongoing administration costs, and that's often where they're making their money, is not just the interest amount, but it's each time a payment is due, there's all these fees attached to it.
Yeah, it's such a trap.
And then if you miss a payment, wow, that's just extra costs. So an $800 loan could end up being $2,000.
Wow. So what would you say to someone who's thinking of a quick solution of a payday loan?
Oh, I get, and I'm not diminishing someone's need, desperation, and I certainly understand that they don't want to ask family or friends, but I would ask them to ring the National Debt Helpline, 1-800-007-007, and just get some guidance around. Maybe they could take advantage of a hardship arrangement with, say, their utility provider or their credit card provider. Maybe there's some other strategy that they could put in place to just prevent this need for doing a quick cash grab.
Wow. It can be such a hole that they could fall in.
Yes.
And do you help many people out of that sort of situation?
Oh, look, sadly, we probably cop the calls that are, or even the clients, where they've already done the deal and now they're facing the fact that they just cannot repay it. It's too high. They don't have the income to cover it, which is the reason they grabbed the money in the first place.
Yeah.
So now we try and untangle that mess.
So does that become a mediation between you and the lender once again?
Yes, we'll try and work with the lender and get an affordable payment arrangement in place. Make sure we close the account so that there can be no further lending.
Yeah.
Just try and calm the situation down so that it becomes a little more manageable. But sometimes, I have to admit, sometimes people are just not able to afford it, and they may have no option other than to let the debt go, which then sets off that train of events now with debt collection and credit reporting activity and.
What happens in that scenario?
Well, the debt will go to a collection agency who may try and collect on behalf of the lender, but then ultimately, if they're not successful, the debt will be bundled up, and it literally is a bundle of debt, and a debt buyer would come in and buy these bundles of debt. And when they buy it, they buy all rights to the debt, which means they can continue to charge the interest rate that was initially on that debt.
Wow.
And then they have a time period to collect it. try to collect it.
Are they able to go in and seize items?
Well, they can't do that unless there is actually a court order and the sheriff is instructed to do that. So
Gotcha.
People don't have to fear that someone's just going to turn up on the door and steal their stuff.
Yeah.
It does have to go through a court process and the sheriff must be instructed to do it. But they're not going to do it for I don't believe they're going to do it for an $800 debt, but,
No.
Bigger debts, definitely there is a risk.
So I guess the solution is avoid payday loans and call you when they have a financial problem, right?
Yeah, please don't go surfing on the net at midnight because you're very worried. I'd rather that you called the National Debt Helpline in the morning to see if there's someone there that can give you maybe a little bit of advice, but also a strategy.
Or if they live in a funded suburb, they could call Better Place Australia Financial Counselling for free counselling.
Absolutely, yes. Yes, they could definitely call that.
Thank you so much, Christine. That's been so insightful.
Oh, good. Well, you should see our checklist when we are working with clients, our checklist to make sure we've provided all the options and information. And
I can imagine.
You don't want to miss anything. And
I can imagine. If it was me, it'd be something I had written on the wall in front of me,
Oh, yeah, I've got my checklists and I even upload that as an attachment to make sure that, in the file, the fact is I did go through all the checklists.
Yeah. That's Christine, Financial Counselling Team Leader for Better Place Australia and Financial First Aid. You can access free financial counselling from Better Place Australia if you live in a funded area in Melbourne or Geelong. Now, there's a long list of suburbs that applies to. So to find out if you live in a funded area, visit the Better Place Australia website or the Financial First Aid website and do a search for funded areas. Financial First Aid is an initiative of Better Place Australia.